Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on your time zone, and welcome to Moral Compass 101. In our last topic, we talked about selflessness, where I defined selflessness as a need of dying to self that's akin to egalitarianism and utilitarianism for its viability. I went ahead to say that in order for selflessness to be effective, two mindsets must come into play. These mindsets are a besides self mindset and a beyond self mindset, where I said the besides self mindset instigates a burden of responsibility for humanity welfare, while the beyond self mindset necessitates and effectuates commendable, commemorable, and immutable legacy for posterity. Having said that, I'll please request you to comment so that we can interact, subscribe to get edified, and like and share to disseminate knowledge. Our today's topic is self-determination. Times without number I've said that your success in life is first and foremost determined by how effective you relate with yourself before relating with others. In other words, the efficacy of your intrapersonal relationship is a fundamental requisite for your success and the viability of your interpersonal relationship. This means that how best you relate with yourself will not only determine your success, but it shall also determine the effectiveness of the relationship you have with other people. So, what is self-determination? Self-determination is the need of having autonomy or freedom and control over your life in matters decision making, setting goals, and taking initiatives. In other words, or in simplicity, it's the freedom over your decisions, your goals, and their pursuit thereafter. So, however, the effectiveness, that's the doing the right thing, and efficiency, doing that thing the right way, of your freedom is totally dependent on self-control, which is an effect of both self-discipline and self-sacrifice that are a true depiction of commitment, responsibility, and accountability towards a substantive sense of self-leadership. A vast majority of people are looking for self-determination, but unfortunately, self-determination must come with a sense of responsibility, commitment, and accountability. Last Thursday, I had a chance to witness hundreds of class of 2025 students graduate from high school. This momentous occasion meant that they are at the verge of nesting out from parental domain, where their need for self-determination will require both self-sacrifice and self-discipline to pursue their college education and their prospective careers thereafter. That as these young kids get from a position of independence no dependency to independence, they must adhere to that clarion call of being disciplined and sacrificial in order to achieve their goals successfully. To help you understand the concept of self-determination better, I'll adopt a biblical case study of the prodigal son. This is a tutorial parable of Jesus Christ that's recorded in the Gospel of Dr. Luke, chapter number 15 and verses 11 and following. In this narrative, we find a young man who demands his inheritance from the father, goes to a far land, and out of his luck to adhere to the rule of do's and don'ts. The rule of do's and don'ts is the rule of self-control. He squanders all his inheritance to a point of feeding from the pig's pods. The need for self-determination, therefore, is not dependent upon what you do for your children, but rather what you have taught them to do for themselves. As a responsible parent or guardian, you must teach your children the need to fight and diligently pursue their purpose, plus the importance of self-discipline and self-sacrifice as an efficacy of commitment, responsibility, and accountability that will contrive success. So we have our responsibilities as parents, not only to provide to our children, to do things for them, but also to teach them how to do things for themselves. That's what will save them from the mediocre mindset that freedom does not need any responsibility, accountability, or commitment. In the wake of self-determination, 3 things must happen. Number 1, you must first and foremost find your purpose in life as a requisite for commitment, responsibility, and accountability towards your need for self-determination. Second, you must diligently and passionately pursue your purpose in life in a total adherence to the rule of do's and don'ts. This is the rule of self-control. And the third thing that must happen, you must consistently and unabatedly uphold the rule of do's and don'ts through self-discipline and self-sacrifice for a substantive efficacy of self-determination that will ensue a befitting sense of self-leadership. So by diligently observing the rule of do's and don'ts, that's the rule of self-control, through the help of self-sacrifice and self-discipline, you shall get a befitting sense of self-leadership. Sometimes back, I did a quote that says, if you avoid the pain of sacrifice, you cannot avoid the pain of failure. The worst problem in today's world is self-determination that's not anchored on any pursuit of purpose, and therefore has zero need for commitment, responsibility, and accountability, hence a total deficiency of both self-discipline and self-sacrifice. And the question that follows is, what is the reason for your need of freedom if you do not have any purpose or cause to pursue? So, I'll say that freedom and responsibilities are neither interconnected nor interchangeable. They are one and the same thing. So you cannot choose freedom, and leave alone responsibility, accountability, or commitment. It's a whole package. The need for self-determination is like applying for a loan where you are required to submit a comprehensive business plan, cash flow forecast, and a collateral. All these requirements convinces the lender of your unbated commitment, responsibility, and accountability to run a business that will afford to repay your loan. So these requirements are the surety that you'll be committed, you'll be responsible and accountable towards repaying your own. Likewise, in matters self-determination, your purpose in life becomes a burden of necessity and therefore a collateral that necessitates a diligent pursuit of your purpose through unabated commitment, responsibility, and accountability that demands self-discipline and self-sacrifice, hence a self-conviction that your freedom is wisely managed by self and thus a substantive sense of self-leadership and self-determination. I'll explain that. Just like we took the example of a collateral that becomes an assurity of your ability to pay a loan, same thing in self-determination. The collateral of self-determination is your purpose and pursuit of that purpose. That will give a self-conviction that you really need self-determination, that your self-determination is worth getting because you have purpose and you are ready and willing to pursue that purpose. In closing, the commonality of all the virtuous selves that we have so far discussed are pointing us back to self-identity and therefore an extremely dire need to first and foremost find your purpose in life, since it's the defined objective reason for your existence. Since we started this topic of intrapersonal relationship, all the selves that we have been discussing are pointing us to the same thing. The center stage of all these selves is self-identity, which is the objective purpose of your existence, which is finding purpose as an objective purpose, as a defined objective purpose of your existence. So, you cannot thrive without identity that is tied to your purpose or to your defined purpose of existence. Until next time, stay safe. Blessings and shalom.